earlier, you said I was working my jobs in New York and around the Northeast, and I was pursuing cricket, but I still have to make a living. And you said I can't just quit my job. I still have to make money. But then you followed it up with, "Oh, I quit my job to go to South Africa to play cricket and hang out with Shalivan, Skalkvik, and Cornet Dry, and whoever else." I think you left out Tina Sabrine and a few other names in there. So this is one of the things that I've heard. To what extent, I don't know how much of it is true, but you have cycled through maybe more jobs in a very niche field than perhaps anybody in the biomedical equipment industry. How many jobs did you either quit or were fired? Because employers only give you 2 weeks. In America, you get 2 weeks leave. That's it. So yeah, playing for USA is a huge honor, but they want somebody showing up to the job who's actually going to show up at 9 a.m. and fix the equipment. And playing for USA is not going to help get their X-ray and CAT scan machines fixed and their MRI machines fixed. They need somebody to do that. You go through a bunch of jobs because every time you went away on a US tour, and this was why getting central contracts was such a big deal and getting ODI status, because it meant a player in your position didn't have to quit a job every time you wanted to go on a tour. You could now focus on cricket full time. But how many jobs did you actually quit or were fired from over this whole 2 to 3 years kind of process in order to continue pursuing your true passion, which was cricket?
It was quite a lot. So I'll let you in on a secret. I got fired more than the times I quit the job. So there were times when I actually got fired from 3 jobs, and it wasn't pretty, but at that point it was, if you ask me, like I don't even know why at that point everybody kept saying I was stupid, I was this, don't do that, this is US. But at that point it just seemed the right thing to do. Like every time I got fired, I said, all right, now it might come across as a joke, but at that point I just said, okay, never mind, next one. Next one. So all I was doing was looking at it from a short point of view. From the job perspective, I was just looking at next 6 months. I was looking at what tour was coming up and then just making sure I worked just that much to get across. And then by the time the next tour came along, I either asked them for leave, which they wouldn't give because, like you said, it's just not even, I think it was 10 days of absence for a year. So they would either say no, and I would still go and then get fired, or just get on. So, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop.
Alexa's worried about you. Alexa's worried about you getting fired again, Naj. It's okay.
So yeah, it was just.
Let me ask you this. Were you so good at fixing all this equipment that no matter how many times you get fired, somebody was always going to call you up because you were that much in demand that you were so damn good at fixing this equipment and diagnosing the issues?
To be honest, I wasn't no. If you go through the referrals and my ex-colleagues, I don't think they'll have a lot of good things to say, because all I was do was just try to get out early and then come in late to work. It's not the same thing with cricket, though. I don't think there are a lot of people who would say nice things about me at work. But yeah, it was, well, they were, some of the guys helped me to get a job in California. That didn't work out because I didn't want to move to Cali at that point. There was an opportunity in Jersey from one of the cricket guys that I had to turn down because there was a tour coming up. So it was all just short-term focuses.
So none of these places that you were, none of them are have a framed photo in a jersey with Nosthush Kenjige. This is our proud ex-employee.
There's one or two bosses. Ruben was a very good boss. Even there's one team from the first job that I worked at. They were very supportive of at least those 2 weeks, and then giving me those offs when I needed, just for the Friday or Thursday training camp. But at that point, yeah, you can only expect so much from the corporate world here. They're not going to pay you and say, go play cricket, all the cricket that you want, and we'll take care of you. That's just not going to happen. So it was just realistic that I know, I just quit at that point. But until then, I obviously couldn't let them know that I'm here for only so long, because then they wouldn't take me in the first place. So I think I was a little selfish in those acts, but I just got the job done, just the bare minimum. I would just do the bare minimum and keep everyone happy, I suppose. Yeah.
It sounds like the first job that you described, you said, well, one of my bosses was actually happy. It's like, oh, we got somebody who plays for USA. And then by the second, third tour, I was like, oh, geez, we got somebody who plays for USA.
That's exactly what would happen, yes. So the first time I went on a tour, they would be excited, send out emails, send out all kinds of pamphlets to everybody, that, this, that. And then by the time the third tour came about, they said, is this all you're going to do? Yeah, no, wasn't pretty.
All right. So you said you were fired from 3 jobs. How many did you quit? Did you lose track?
Quit as in I lost. So it was more of me turning down offers more than they selecting me and then me quitting. I'm a kind of person who fight. It's very hard to say no. So there would be times when I would say yes, join, and then they would fire me. I would just wait for them to fire me. So for me to quit, I think there's just one place where it was a mutual thing where I told him, listen, this is not going to work out because we have a full calendar coming up, and then it was mutual. Yeah.
Now, we're laughing about it now. You said it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time.
No, no.
You've made it to the USA. You're now a full-time player. But aside from the personal stress, I would imagine this put you through at certain times. What was your family thinking?
The first 2 3 years they were over the moon. I mean, if I was excited, they were 100 times more excited. They would go around telling all the family and sending pictures of me, the articles, because I think that is one thing they, if you ask them 15 20 years ago what they wanted me to do, they would say play cricket for the country, and that is what I've been doing. So the first 2 3 years they were okay with it, and then there comes a time when they start asking you, are they looking after you, what's with the contracts, is there any certainty, is there any kind of a plan? Because there was a time when you would play one tournament and then you wouldn't know what's going to happen next for the next 3 4 months. You just didn't know if there was a camp coming up, and even if a camp came up, it would be with 1 week's notice. So it wasn't the best ideal situation, but at all times they've been 100% supportive. So if not for them, it would have been much harder. They've just told me, just do whatever you think best suits you, because that comes from the fact, I think, because they know I can go back. I think they think that I can go back to the medical field, but I don't know if I can go back to that field. So one of my other motives to just keep performing and doing the best I can is because I don't want to go back to the medical field and work there. But they've been 100%. I mean, they can't ask for anything better, so they're just happy.
What made you so driven or so determined to actually believe and stick with this and not give up and not say, all right, you know what, I've been fired from 3 jobs, or would it have been 4 jobs or 5 jobs, or was there a certain point where you had set kind of like a deadline in your own mind where you said, all right, if we don't have full-time contracts or if we don't get ODI status, then you know what, I've got to really prioritize earning, and I can't keep doing what I'm doing, because after a certain point, even after I retire, by the time, 35, 40, you might not have cricket. You still got to have a job after cricket, and you could be burning future lifelong career prospects. Did any of that ever enter your mind, or were you just thinking in the immediate, no matter what happens, I'm just going to continue pursuing this until it fails, or it just doesn't happen because I don't have a plan B?
Yeah, I remember in 26 when I in 2017 when Tom Evans was running the whole combines and I made it to the 30, he sent an email. He said, "This is going to be a long-term plan where it's a 5-year plan. We're looking at developing players for the next 5 years, picking a good team, making a good culture." This was along with Pugudu, so I knew I would give it everything for those 5 years at least. So until 2022, I just knew it would just be cricket. Obviously you don't want to put timelines in a sport because 5 years is a very long time in any sport. In the back of my head, I just knew it would be 5 years of just cricket. I didn't mind not having a job and whatnot until 2022. But then as years rolled on by, we started, so we knew we made it to the ODIs and we have a World Cup in 2023. There's a T20 World Cup next year. There's a T20 World Cup in 2024. So one thing led to another. I think it's just having those goals in mind. If you ask me today, like, I want to give it everything. So whatever I do, whatever I'm doing today, I just want to make sure that I keep giving my best until maybe the 2024 World Cup. Again, like if you ask me, if you interview me in 2027, then I can go backward and connect the dots. But right now it's very hard. So it's just giving your best every day and then just, taking it day by day and just staying in the present. But we have so much cricket now in the calendar. There's so much to look forward to. And at the same time, you got to keep improving because it's not going to get any easier.